Hey, what is up everybody? Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Besides today's video, guys, we're going to be going ahead and going over some upcoming meta teams for players to prepare for, mainly seeing that this was actually a question I got here on one of my newest videos. If you guys like videos like these, be sure to of course hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know down below in the comment section what you really want to see here. This was literally a recent comment, which you guys actually should see it pop up on the screen in a second. Was a recent comment here, and so I decided, hey, let's go ahead and do the video, especially seeing we have a lot of things just going on. So what better time to do right now than just now, I guess. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, and as always, let's get straight into it. Now, one of the few things I do want to say before we actually do get straight into it is I am currently moving. My room right now sounds a little bit echoey, and you guys probably noticed it immediately in the video, seeing that, hey, my voice is kind of bouncing off all the walls. We're currently in the midst of moving. I'm trying to get at least 2 more videos out for you guys. One's going to be coming out on Monday, which is this one, and then the next is going to be coming out on Tuesday. Once I'm fully moved in, which should be like, no matter what, we're going to be fully moved in by like Monday. But once I'm like settled, we should pick back up on everything on Wednesday. So you guys are going to be seeing more non-pre-recorded videos at that point in time. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you guys like the dedication when it comes with it, but man, it's been crazy. But for the first thing here, we're talking about some upcoming teams, and mainly going to be looking at the ones that are going to be the most important ones, and that is going to be our girl being Makoto Nijima, who ends up dropping in 1.3.3, or for some of you guys just named Queen. Now Queen herself is a nuke character here, and actually her team is one of the more fearsome teams that is a meta team that drops for quite some time. I want to say it lasted for at least 2 to 3 patches, or 2 to 4 patches itself, and it was pretty darn decent. She's actually a really good team itself. The only issue with her is her team was just overly squishy. If you did want to, of course, use it properly, there were some things that you really need to do in order to get this to actually work out. But the other team that we're going to end up focusing as well is going to prep us more for the what's it called? The the summer characters, which is going to be S-Closer. I don't know why I say electric, even though I think 4 Star is the only electric version of it. But S-Closer and Makoto are going to be the main teams that we're going to be talking about today. So I think the first one we're going to break down is just going to be Makoto's. As I did say before, she is a very squishy character. She's one of the few units that I will say is very good, but at the downside of it, at least, she did not live well. A lot of her team could be very well one-shotted, but still she got the job done naturally. This team's actual, or at least this character's actual whole team, was fairly nice as well, and is pretty easy to build if you guys really wanted to do so. If you wanted to actually look into building this here, we would use something like this, where you could possibly use Cord. You're seeing that Cord dropped, I want to say, I think it was like a update after, which, let me make sure I have my ducks in a row before I actually put that number out there. Yes, Cord dropped in 2.0, while Queen was in 1.3.3, which had a spacer banner in between, which was Phoebe. The team originally, if you just really want to go about a team that you can utilize without Cord, would look something like this. We would have something here, and if you went for Phoebe, you would use this here as well. Phoebe would technically be the best in slot for a while, at least until 4 Futaba drops, being more of the crit damage or crit rate buffer as a Navi here. But Phoebe's going to be helping you out for any of your actual offensive stats. Main reasoning for this is because it allows you to use a triple nuke team here, or a triple nuke, which could be with Bishamonten in the front slot, which will be a more of a actual nuke applied persona. This allows you to get the max that you can get for Phoebe's whole passive, and pretty much melded all of the nuke team together. But as I did say, this team itself was fairly squishy unless you added the Marion in there. Marion's going to keep the team kind of together, but do keep in mind that if you really did not want to use Marion, your only other suggestion would technically be Cord. Cord is going to be more or less the one that helps you with at least more of these like highlights, which was the one I decided to use a lot more often. So if you did not have those two, you kind of had to just kind of make something makeshift, which was a little bit weird when it came down to it, because you wanted as much attack percentage as possible. You very well could, of course, end up using like Brillo or even Leon, but those two weren't really your best choices, seeing that Leon more or less did take away too much HP, with the team already being squishy, it was really not too helpful. And then of course with Riddle, you had a very long setup, so it just didn't really make the team all too worth it. So this is more or less going to be your best in slot type team here for at least a little while. And then when Cord drops, you will end up swapping out Marion if you want to and you believe in your whole team, or at least this to make sure you can have more of the highlights. Now on the aspect, if you don't have Phoebe as a navigator, your only other navigator that you probably be able to use is going to be Okyan. And then in the future, if there is no other Navi to end up using, you can very well replace her with the 4-star Rico, and then later on in the future use Futaba as your next premium character. But let's just keep it like this for now. As I did say, she's going to be one of the few teams that you really want to focus on, and the main reasoning for this is because she had a new little mechanic which utilized her mask form. When she went to this mask form, it changed her third skill, allowing her to deal some devastating damage, and also allowed her to proc more often, more technicals for even more of this damage. The more mental elements or elements in general that she had on the enemy, the more damage she could really do with this skill 3. The simplest way to put it is you just spam your skill 3 and it's gonna work in the end and kill everything in front of you. So there's no real trick to this character. The more times you spam skill 3, the better. The more times you spam her highlight, the better. You're just gonna get a lot of damage off. One of her most valuable things that is about this character, of course, is going to be her A1. Seeing her A1 is going to more or less help you out on the at least damage side, seeing it actually increases the attack that she has inside of her Iron Will state. Alongside this, it allows her to really build up the amount of stacks that she does need, which is the tenacity stack aspect here. And this is more or less going to allow you to do more damage into that said actual state, being the Iron Will state, and be able to just knock out as much as possible. If you really wanted to, getting this character up and running fully to A6 would be actually worth it, though unfortunately do keep in mind, Nuke still is in a very interesting spot right now, seeing they are missing some support. So if you did want to fully try to foolproof her for the future, you're going to be waiting for quite some time, seeing that you do need to have a foolproof team. All in all, still pretty darn good. The other characters, as I did say, are going to be Vino and then of course Marion. Mainly for that whole reason is because of course Vino is going to help you get more of those mental elements off. See, her skill 1 really will allow this to be possible. With the skill 1 itself, you're applying as many mental elements as possible, or elements as possible, which can be very good for at least Makoto's whole damage. Also, if you do have dupes, she's able to apply more of these even quicker, so it can be very helpful and have higher percentages on damage rate, including of course the takedown of defense on the skill 1, and then the damage dealt increase that you can get off the skill 3. It's pretty very helpful when it comes down to at least the whole team, so don't sleep on that character as well. As I did say before, you could use Cord. All I have to say for this character is increase attack and highlights you can spam, so there's nothing really to explain about this one. But for the Marion side of things, the reason that we use her is for that survivability side. As Marion did just recently drop on global, of course, she's going to be very helpful for keeping this team alive. And if you do have the A1 for some of my people who decided to summon for it, you're giving yourself a nice old buff here, which should be a pin buff for 2 whole turns. And Makoto does very well like this buff here for her entire team. So if you're able to go ahead and get this heal off and get that pin buff, it's going to help you out quite a lot to really benefit Makoto's entire team here. And the last thing that I really got to say about this meta shifting team, or at least this team itself, is overall you shouldn't have at least any problems with handling it. Is more or less just going to come down, hey, what do you have in store? Everyone inside of this team really doesn't need their 5-star weapons. In fact, they're really good without them. I want to say the main person, if you did want to of course get their 5-star weapons, who would benefit the most is going to be of course Makoto Nijima, seeing as she's your main DPS. And then the second one is going to be Marion's. Marion's more or less is going to help you out a lot, or at least a ton, when it comes down to that healing side. So getting this weapon will definitely be in handy for at least this whole team. But now that we've talked about this here, let's go ahead and move on to our next team. That's going to be the second subject, being the Blessed team. Now the Blessed team is another one of these teams that's absolutely insane here, and it's going to mainly be at least led by these type of units. The units that we're mainly going to be taking a look at, as you guys can see on the team, or at least on the screen here, is going to be S-Closer aligned with Marion. Marion at this point is going to be a huge one that just kind of sticks here, so you really won't replace her too much. But if you did have to replace her, you would mainly just use cattle, mainly seeing that you do want some extra little buffs, being the attack buffs, and then you do want to have the HP. If you did just want raw healing, you could use Morgana, seeing at that point in time you're healing as much as possible. But I would say cattle would be better, seeing you're getting the actual attack boost from it and also getting the lovely heals in general. But the team itself is literally going to be this one. The only navies that you're going to have access to is pretty much just going to be Phoebe here, and this is going to allow you to more or less use the triple bless again. This time, instead of having like Dionysus in the front, you very well could possibly at this point in time be leveled up good enough to at least use Dominion in the first slot, getting those triple bless stacks for at least Phoebe's actual chalice marks here. This is going to help you out quite a lot, seeing this is going to be an offensive Navi for this team, and you just have a ton of people who are helping not only Closer get her highlights, but increase her damage, her crit rates, her attack, while also giving you major buffs for HP. The more you have of this, the better it's going to be for you. I feel like a lot of you guys are going to enjoy it. Now, of course, if you don't have Cord by that time, or at least once they do release here, you don't have Cord by this time, you could very well use Leon, seeing Leon is helping you out on the crit damage specter, especially if you have him A6. If you didn't want to, of course, use anything in that, well, it's going to be a little bit harder finding more of a replacement. So I would suggest you guys to try and at least invest into that. Now, I've already explained pretty much how this does work with at least the characters here, but let's just go ahead and go over at least what they need to focus on the most. S-Closer is going to be more or less your only DPS, and the main things you're going to be utilizing with this character is the skill 1. The skill 1 more or less, well, skill 1 and skill 3. Skill 3 is going to be your big boy damage here, being able to use Wave Chaser as much as possible, which once you enter your low phases here or your states, it immediately can help you out, dealing tons of crit damage, or at least tons of crit rate, and also damage bonus damage markers with that blessed damage on top. It more or less just became a huge nuke that you can very well use on AoE type mobs, which was very helpful. Then with the skill 1 here, it also is a AoE type move itself, which does consume a little bit of your HP, but while you do this, you actually can deal an extra instance of damage, which is going to be blessed damage all around. It's pretty darn interesting, seeing those are the main 2 skills that you can use. In some aspects, you may use the elite skill 2, but it's going to be pretty rare. So you really want to just prep this character to have at least a skill 3, skill 1 ready, and then have the ult up as well. This is going to really help you out, and with her actual state, she's increasing her crit rate and her damage bonus even more so, enhancing her own skills. So it's going to be very helpful. If you did want to go ahead and of course prepare for awarenesses or anything of this nature here, for this entire team, the one that I would say that's the best actual awareness to get, or at least our closer, is going to be A1. Reason for this is because it reduces the cooldown of Wave Chaser, which means you can go ahead and get your form even faster, and it buffs crit rates and crit damage by 10% and 25%. So it's fairly helpful. If you want to go any further than that, it's honestly up to you, but it's not really necessary. Weapon wise, of course, if you did want to get the weapon, it would be very much so useful, seeing that she's your DPS. This is more or less going to help you out even more so for her Midsummer and True Summer state, allowing you to increase your crit damage. Allows you also to increase your highlight and skill damage, while also getting up your blessed damage overall. So I mean, getting this weapon invested into as well would be very helpful, especially if we're looking at the entire team. But if you're trying to find at least what's the most worth it inside of the team itself, once again, this is going to come down to Marion being the most, excuse me you guys, Marion being the most worth it, seeing that she's going to help you out on the HP factor. The HP factor is going to be a huge deal for this team, so the more to often that you do have dupes, or even more often that you have Marion up, the better it's going to be. You definitely want to have the 5-star weapon for this team here, seeing it is going to be the main thing that's going to make this team so meta, so I do suggest you guys to really invest into it quite a lot. But those are the new 2 teams that are going to be here very soon when it comes down to the global marker. Reason why I say this is because we are being expedited a little bit on speed timing, or at least release dates for some of these banners, so be sure to have at least your rewards in order. Though I don't think that's going to be too much of a huge problem, seeing that global quite literally does get a decent bit of rewards itself, as long as you aren't using them on craziness. Though the Marion situation did kind of make things a little bit skewed, so it's going to be an interesting time from there. I'll keep you guys updated on anything new from here, but Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.